Hello there, my name is Pastor Buck Wilford. I'm the pastor here at Brunswick Community Church. We're located right in the Rito's Bakery Plaza at 1930 Pearl Road. We have church at 10 a.m. on Sundays and Bible study at 6:30 p.m. on Thursdays. We also have good Christian education hour at 9 a.m. Sundays if you want to come a little early. We're a church that loves people and we love God. We'd love to connect with you. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to just be a part of your life as well too. We're focused in on preaching the Bible. I do it verse by verse, expository style. We hold to the 5 solas. We believe strongly that we're saved only by grace alone, through faith alone, through Christ alone. And it's all to the glory of God alone. And the only thing we hold as infallible and inerrant and strongly adhere to is the scriptures alone. We'd love to see you out here. We'd love to have you come visit. Thank you so much.
When we shall be forever with the Lord, when disappointment, grief, and fear are gone, sorrow forgot, love's purest joys bestowed, be still my soul, when changes and tears are past, all safe and blessed, we shall meet at last. All safe and blessed, we shall meet at last.
Good. All right, some good songs there. All right, so Ecclesiastes chapter 8. If you don't have your Bibles, I'm going to have it up here, verse by verse. All right. I usually try to get a cool picture up front. This sermon here is called Practical Wisdom, so I wasn't sure what to get, okay? I've looked at different things, but I like this one with the words underneath it. The right way to do the right thing. That's practical wisdom. Wisdom applied at the right time, right place, right time. Can't do everything all the time. There's appropriate times for this, appropriate times for that, for words, for actions, for everything. So this whole chapter is summarized because we're going to see a whole lot of practical wisdom. How can we live life in a practical way and make it through this life and find peace and be the way that God would have us to be? We'll move right in, okay? It says, who is like the wise man and who knows the interpretation of a matter? A man's wisdom illumines his face and causes his stern face to beam. All right? So think about this, about a guy's face, the way a guy's face looks right there, a guy with wisdom. And it's a comparison with the unwise, okay? It's a good thing to be wise. It's a very good thing to be wise. We should all be wanting to be wiser. We should all be wanting more wisdom, okay? It's how we do better in this life that God gave us, with all this wisdom and things that He gave us and we were able to use. It allows one to interpret matters that come to one's attention, all right? You know, one thing that I like, that I thought about a lot as I did a lot of writing and stuff, is I always like to be able to be present in the moment and to be able to put things into words. Words like when I see something or I'm in a situation, if you can put something into words, oh, how wonderful that is right there. You know, but you got to kind of think about things beforehand, and you got to work toward that. That doesn't come natural for most folks. Okay, it doesn't come natural to me. It's something I work on, that I'm able to be present in a moment and put things into words in that moment that are the right words, not just any words or crazy words. It's like, you know, it's like painting a picture. I tell you, I couldn't paint much of a picture. I'll tell you that much. But imagine somebody that does paint pictures. They don't just like slop the paint on there. They have a way about it, okay? And truly, when we have wisdom, we'll be able to interpret what matters when they come to our attention, what's going on, and realize what's going on right here in the moment. I mean, a lot of times we can reflect later back on what went on in the moment, but we always think, man, I wish I would have said this. I wish I would have said that. Oh, this is exactly what was going on, and we don't realize until later. It's beautiful as we get more wisdom, that we're able to live in the moment and put those things in the moment as well. Makes your face shine, okay? It makes you like, oh, I've got something here. It's like a bright light went on. You know, that was a thing for the practical wisdom picture. It was a lot of light bulbs, okay? A lot of light bulbs and things. If face shines from a confidence, when somebody's wise, they shine from a confidence, they're not at wit's end. They're not like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? Okay? There's a difference. When you look at somebody, whether they're confident or they're at wit's end, all right? We'd like to be around somebody that's confident or something when we're talking to somebody or trying to connect, especially if we need help from somebody. We'd rather have them have confidence than be at wit's end. A person that has wisdom solves problems like puzzles, okay? So doesn't mean that they know all the answers, but they don't get so frustrated they just give up and go crazy, okay? And I do like to do some puzzles. I haven't done them in years. When I was a kid, I did a lot of puzzles. But a puzzle, you got to look at all these pieces and constantly look at where's this next piece go? Where's that piece go? It takes a long time. Sometimes I've heard that there's puzzles that are double-sided. Could you imagine that? A double-sided puzzle? How hard it would be to flip pictures over and try to see when there's two different things and one of them you're not even using half of the ones that are there for a picture. I told my boy, because he likes the idea of being an engineer one day maybe, I said, in my opinion, from the way I look at engineers, they're people who like to solve puzzles. They like to solve problems. They're thinkers, but the strength you must have if you're one of those type of folks is you don't let your frustration get in the way. Because the frustration can come so quick for some of us, and we can snap so fast, and then we just don't do anything, okay? And we've got to watch that, because that's human nature somewhat, and that's as we get wiser, we should be able to control that and let that be. You know, one thing I think we hit last week, or the week before, that helped me a lot thinking about it, is if something crazy always goes on in your life every time you do that, whatever part it is in your life, don't get mad about it. Realize something crazy is about to go on. It's not going to work out. I'm going to get upset. So why am I going to get upset? I'm just going to handle it and be okay. You know, maybe working on a car. I did some brakes last week on my car. Unexpected, you know, those things you just find out that your brakes are shot. And I'd never done calipers before in my life. And they tried to quote me $900 to do my calipers at the local place, and I had to have the paperwork in by Monday. So my boy, who's not here today, is able to drive my car around and had a safety inspection done. I didn't know I had metal brakes, but the caliper was bad. And I thought, $900? No way. Well, you know what? By the end of last Sunday afternoon, I'd spent $177 for a $900 job, and I did it effectively and well. I fortunately found a good YouTube guy. Man, I know how to do brakes better than I ever did now. I used to be so frustrated, it would take forever. Man, this YouTube guy showed how to do it in a way I never did it before. It was so simple. And I tell you, that's one of those things, like when you go to do it, you better realize there's going to be problems. I'm the kind of guy, you can ask my wife, well, I'll say something just take me 20 minutes. Everything just take me 20 minutes. 3 or 4 hours later, I'm still doing it. I don't give up, but I do it. But I tell you now, it's getting different now. So in case somebody asks me to help them with their brakes, which don't do unless you have to, okay? It doesn't always go 20 minutes. I let them know there's usually some problems involved, and it could take about a half a day or so. And that's just the way that it is. And I don't let myself get all frustrated and furious, especially when I see something crazy. But I think as we grow wiser, what good does it do if we let stuff destroy us that always destroys us if we already know that it's going to make us all messed up? We don't want to let that happen. So we got to have this face of shining, beaming, a stern face, a confidence. It's not a fake one. It's one that like we're feeling grounded where we are, because the smarter we get, the wiser we get, we already understand some stuff, okay? And we're ready to know that there's stuff we don't know, like puzzles. We're going to be ready to figure it out without getting crazy. The wise do not feel their way along with uncertainty, but they see the essence of the problem and they move forward with confidence. So that's how wise people deal with it. Instead of just looking at something clueless all the time, be like, well, I could never be, I could never know. Well, the wise think, I'm going to take confidence, I'm going to move forward, step by step, forward. I can't tell you how many times in my life that I've used this, was kind of like forced to use it. Thankfully, I went forward and didn't just stop, where you don't know what the next step is, but you got to just take another step. another step forward, and keep moving forward in life, and not just give up and stop and just flounder, okay? The wise, you're going to keep moving forward, and you're going to do it with confidence, okay? The confidence that we have as Christians is we're trusting in the Lord to guide our way and to help us as well. Should be a lot of prayer through all this stuff, okay? Don't forget prayer as we're trying to learn wisdom and grow and deal with these things in life. He says, I say, keep the command of the king because of the sworn oath before God. There's like all kinds of commentaries that try to be like, what does this say? Some versions don't even say I say. But from the Hebrew word, it looks like this is the right way. If you look at the King James, it doesn't even, it's like really mashed together, even harder to understand, but it really probably does say the clearest. But this is Legacy Standard Bible, so it helps a little clear up a little even more with I say, rather than just flow, I keep the command of the king. The man serving the king has taken an oath before God to do so. It's important for him to obey the king and follow his commands. Wisdom tells us to deal carefully and respectfully with kings. Okay, so if we're dealing with a king, we should be careful. We should watch our step. Okay, we should show respect, even if we don't like the king. We got to be careful. And surely, I think as we look at this passage, it's going to really draw out some stuff about the king. I think you could also look at God as the king as we read this passage, you know, because God is ultimately the king. Jesus is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And when Jesus laid out his word, when we have the Bible in our hands, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to obey it. It's God's commandments for us to obey. All right? And if you think if you're a believer and you're in that covenant relationship with God, then you have sworn an oath before God. You are committed to him, okay? And you should show that respect and follow his commands. To not be in a hurry to go from his presence, to not stand in an evil matter, for he will do whatever he pleases, okay? Now, we all know that earthly kings mess up like crazy. Earthly leaders mess up like crazy. Nobody's perfect. If you've ever been a leader, you know you probably messed up before, okay? If anybody's been a leader like I was perfect, I bet you some people who worked for you didn't think so, okay? I know, as I've been a leader in different places, I know some people don't think I'm perfect, that's for sure, and they know I'm messed up, but I admit I am messed up. I'm a work in progress. Thank God God's working me all the time, growing me, and making me what I am, okay? But it says, don't be in a hurry to run away from his presence. So what does this mean? I think it means make sure you understand before you go and do. It'd be easy for me, like say when I did those brakes the other day, you know, I also asked the guy at the O'Reilly shop where I bought all the material. I said, how do you do calipers? It sounded like Chinese to him, okay? I didn't know what the heck he was saying. I was like, oh, okay. It wasn't until I found that good YouTube guy that I was able to go step by step through it. But truly, before somebody tells you to go do something, you should make sure you understand it. Ask some questions. Get a grasp on it. Save yourself some time. That's the wise thing to do. Don't be in a hurry just to run away. And be careful not to do evil and disobey the king. All right? Our sinful natures, every single one of us has a sinful nature. Every single one of us has sin. And we can go the wrong way. In fact, I'd say we're prone to going the wrong way. Okay? It takes a long time of discipline and wisdom and building a foundation, precept on precept, line upon line, until things start to become more natural. And even when the right way starts to become more natural, we're going to run into other things that aren't so natural that are going to still give us troubles on the way. Okay, so we got to be careful not to go in that wrong way and to disobey the king. God will do whatever he wants to do. Okay, for he will do whatever he pleases. God does do whatever he pleases. None of us are going to ever be able to change God. Okay, God is the ultimate. God isn't like us, figuring things out. God's not somebody that's just reasoning away. He is so far beyond all of that, okay? Truly, one aspect of prayer is prayer gets us lined up with what God's will is. When we pray and pray and pray, sometimes we find we don't get what we were praying for, but what we do is we pray, come to understand what the will of God is, and we understand what he is actually leading and what he is actually doing. And truly, God does do whatever he pleases to do. And think about this: whatever the king commands, it will be obeyed. You know, if he's think about God. If you think about God, his kingdom isn't like the way the United States is, where we get to vote for somebody and decide this and decide that. His kingdom is more like the way we would look at maybe the bad guys' kingdoms on the earth, but because they're sinners and fallen, they really lead some evil kingdoms is what we see. But when God's kingdom and God's picture is, there isn't any votes in the matter. There isn't any tell him to go a different way. God does what God does. But fortunately, we know the nature of God is loving, it's gracious, it's perfect, it's without sin. He's the beautiful one to follow. He's the only one that can be followed in that kind of perfection. And truly, the earthly kings are trying to do what they do. Hopefully they're trying to do the best that they can. But even in that, they're not going to be perfect, but they're still going to do what they please many times right there. Especially if you go back in history when there wasn't democracies and things like what we have right now. Since the word of the king is powerful, who will say to him, "What are you doing?" You know, we can't tell God, "What are you doing?" You know, we studied the book of Job a while ago, and many times Job wanted to tell God, "What are you doing? What's going on in my life?" And he actually demanded a court case with God. He wanted to have a court case, but even when he said he wanted a court case, he knew he couldn't win. He knew it would be futile, okay? If you read the book of Job. And we can't say to the king, "What are you doing?" Whatever the king commands was to be obeyed. But like I say, with good theology, as we do theology, we should kind of know borders, parameters with this, okay? We shouldn't read this and be like, okay, if the king tells me to do evil, I'll do evil. Because what does the Bible say? In Acts 5:29, it says, we must obey God rather than man. So there's certain things that maybe our king, our president will tell us to do, we shouldn't do, okay? Or whatever situation we're in, because it goes against the way of God. But one thing be sure of, be prepared for the consequences. Just because you might be in the right doesn't mean that you won't have the hammer fall down upon you right there. It's like I read in this book from a guy named Lang wrote this book about a chaplain in the army, and he refused not to pray in Jesus' name. He always prayed in Jesus' name. And he lost his career and got the boot over this, lost his retirement, lost everything. And you know what the guy writing the book said? He said this was very important to this man. He goes, but you know what? We all run into problems every day, and we all run into these hills, and we got to choose which hill we're going to die on. And if we don't want to die on every little hill we run across, okay? We'll die on a hill that doesn't really mean anything then. Don't waste your life on a little hill, you know? Gauge your life for the big hill, for whatever is supposed to be, whatever that you can't cross that. But you'll see, you guys, I'm sure you can imagine, know people. Some people, they can't get past any little thing with any other single person because every single thing is a hill to die on. We can't live like that. We can't get along like that. We can't communicate like that. We got to be able to love each other, move forward, and realize there's some hills that aren't worth dying on. It doesn't mean that we agree with the hill or something that we didn't die on. It just means that we didn't die on that hill that day, okay? That guy that wrote that book in Jesus' name, that guy died on that hill that day, but he did bring a lot of things to light. And you know what? Things changed a little bit when he did that. Things did change a little bit in the military after he did that a little ways down the line. But it didn't change for him in a good way. He felt the consequences in a bad way and lost his career there. So we got to be careful. And these are the boundaries, like I said, the left and the right. I look at theology all the time, like there's a fine road, a narrow road that's going to heaven, and on the left side is legalism. Okay, we can get so legalistic, you know, too legalistic as Christians and believers that we're in a gutter is where we can be. And then the other side is liberalism. We can get so liberally minded that nothing really matters and everything's okay that we're in a real gutter. And we've got to continually stay in the middle of the road. And as we use wisdom, we should get to know ourselves and where we travel on that road, okay? I know that I myself can bump into the legalistic side at times. So I have to be careful and watch myself that I don't fall into the gutter and go rolling along in the gutter. That's no way to travel down the road. You know, some people, maybe you fall on the side of liberalism and you want to constantly say stuff's okay that the Bible says isn't okay. You got to be careful you don't fall in that gutter and roll down that road. We got to stay on that narrow path. And as we do our theology and we understand about God and we use wisdom, you've got to compare Scripture with Scripture to understand it. And this thing of saying you can't say to the king, what are you doing? You know, if the king's like an earthly law, well, you can if it goes against God's will. You know, if it goes against the Word of God. But you need to be careful with this, okay? And you need to watch it. And you also have to realize you may face serious consequences. Think about how many people. Think about John the Baptist. John the Baptist spoke out against the politicians in the Bible. He spoke out against King Herod, and what happened? He went to prison, and then he lost his head. Okay? But where's John the Baptist now? I guarantee you John the Baptist is kingdom of heaven. Okay? We read about John the Baptist. He was a man who loved God. He was the greatest prophet that ever was. He's in heaven right now, and it's beautiful. But that was a choice that he made, and there was consequences that came as well too. He who keeps a royal command experiences no evil thing, for a wise heart knows the proper time and custom. And this is kind of the beautiful verse right here to understand. I believe it's an allusion to the law of Moses, okay? Because if you look at this royal command and the words and things, to get into Hebrew words, it's connected back to the law of Moses. And what is the law of Moses? It's in the sense that it's the whole law of God, okay? Which would be like the whole Bible right there, when you think about this. Okay, so if you keep that royal command, you keep the whole law of God, what happens? A wise man that keeps the command of God, a wise man knows the appropriate time for the appropriate law. You know, because you think about this, you know, it's a love book, it's a law book, it's all kinds of book. It's a manual for how to live life right here. And not all the time, if you think of it as the law book, are you going to use the same law in every single circumstance and situation. You can't apply it at every single. Sometimes it's not right. Sometimes even though it may apply, it's not the right time yet to use it. And we have to be careful that in how we communicate with people, or like I said, that we're going to have a very hard time getting along with one another because we're always spouting something off at a wrong time in the wrong place, okay? We got to be able to use that wisdom to know the right time and the right place for the appropriate law. An example is this. God, it says in the Bible in Romans 8:28. It's a beautiful verse. Some say it's the most powerful verse in the whole Bible, okay? A guy named Derek Thomas, who's a wonderful preacher, he said it's the panic room verse. Where everything goes wrong in your life, you can fall back into Romans 8:28. That God works all things together for the good. The evil and the good things, the evil things, whatever goes on in your life, for those who love God. So you can know no matter what, I'm going to be okay. Because God's got this. Because God's working this together. It's a beautiful verse. But imagine using that verse when somebody just loses a loved one in a tragic accident. And say, don't worry, God's going to use it for the good. That's going to not be the right time at the right place. It surely still does apply and it's surely still true. But somebody who's fresh in their grief, you sure don't want to tell them, don't worry, this is for the good of God. This is wonderful that this happened. You're like, I just lost my son or my daughter or my mom or somebody. You don't go up to them and use that verse right there, okay? That would be out of place at the wrong time. And a wise person knows how to use the proper time and the proper custom and the proper ways. And how do you get there? You get there just from doing life, okay? This isn't something you can just study for 5 or 10 minutes and boom, you got it. Trial and error, mistakes, working through things. That's how we get there, from learning, okay? But we got to be able to learn. We got to be able to realize when we're going the wrong way so often and keep banging our head against the same wall, I need to stop going this way. I need to try to go around the other way, okay? Because otherwise, where am I going to go, all right? It's like I said, we're getting angry all the time at the same things. What good is that if you know you're going to get angry every time you're going to go do that, okay? You got to realize, okay, it's probably going to be just like this, so you can handle it in a much better way. And that's wisdom, okay? It's this practical wisdom applied. And the wise would select the right time and law when advising the king. So we have to be careful with our words. It doesn't mean we compromise. It doesn't mean we say things we don't believe, okay? But we have to use wisdom in how we speak and communicate, and especially like before king. For there is a proper time and custom for every matter. Through a man's trouble is multiplied upon him. Although a man's trouble is multiplied upon him. So there are many possible evil outcomes. You know, we talked about this today at our Christian Education Hour Sunday School. Ricky talked about how many different things could go on. You know, but God already knows exactly what is going to go on. But we don't know. Okay, there's all these different outcomes could be, and a lot of times, you know, when we look at outcomes, there's only like a couple good ones, and most of them are bad ones, right? When we're looking at outcomes and we're having a trouble or a situation, there's a lot of bad ones. I think about when I did those brakes last week. Could have been a bad outcome of my pride that I refused to pay $900, that I never would have figured it out. I couldn't even get to work the next day, maybe, because I wouldn't even have calipers or brakes on my car, okay? I was very fortunate. God blessed me that day and helped me with one of the things that I did. But there's many possible evil outcomes, and the wise, they seek to avoid those outcomes by being careful and timely application of the law. By putting things the right way from the Bible, we seek to avoid all the evils and the troubles that could happen, okay? But we got to be able to apply this, and we got to know it too. In order to be able to apply it, we got to be reading it. We got to be in the Scripture. We got to be in the Word. And we need to know this kind of stuff, okay? And even if we do this and trouble all comes upon us, we still got to be able to do the right thing and move forward in faith. If no one knows what will happen, who can tell him when it will happen? Okay, we talked about this last week, how only God knows the future. None of us know the future. We all want to predict the future. If people really could predict things, there'd be tons of millionaires with the stock market, and there'd be tons of all kinds of things, right? But we can't predict the future. Only God knows the future. We have to live in the present, because we can't live in a future that's unpredictable. And that I wrote here, the wise man follows the command of God because only God knows the end from the beginning. So what does a wise person do? They follow and obey what the Bible says, because only God knows what's going to be in the end. We don't know, and we've got to trust Him. And constantly, we as human beings want to control things. We can't control the future. God controls the future. We've got to trust Him and live in this day and follow His commands. The wise knows things may not work out as hoped, okay? A wise person knows, you know what? I did my breaks last week. I knew there was possibility things could go bad or something, okay? But you know what? I know there's possibilities. There's always possibilities that something may not work out as hoped. You know, I used to look at this in the Army all the time, and maybe some of you guys were in the military in here too, it's the same thing, is expect the worst and hope for the best, okay? And that was a pretty good motto for me to live by, because most of the time, the worst is what came by. I don't know if it's like that with your lives too, but if you think you go to try to do something, and if you already expect that the worst thing may happen, it doesn't mean you just give up and sit down. It means you're doing your best so that doesn't happen, but yet you're not crushed and broken when it does happen. You don't fall apart totally if it doesn't happen, okay? And the wise know that, you know what, it may not work out the right way. But the wise are also assured that if you follow the law, that you've acted wisely. That if you follow God, you've done the right thing. And isn't that a beautiful thing? Even if you end up a failure and you end up all messed up, but yet you knew you were following God, praise God, that's still such a blessing and a beautiful thing. Not all the time does God give success, okay? It's not like Joel Osteen, okay, who says, your wonderful life now and things. I like the Paul Washer one. Your worst life now. That's what's happening. Really, if we believe in heaven and it's beyond imagination, we are living our worst life now, you know. But if you don't believe in Jesus and you're not saved, then maybe Joel Osteen's thing is correct, okay? That would be the best life you have right now if you don't know Christ for the future. But the thing is we've got to follow the law. We need to follow God's word, even if we think all these things are going to go wrong. Think about that guy I told you about that refused not to pray in Jesus' name. He knew it may go real bad, okay? His name was Klingenschmidt. You can look him up and read about this guy. And he was a pretty good chaplain too. He did a lot of good things. But Klingenschmidt knew he'd already had some previous experiences with some people that had tried to stop him from really walking in his faith, okay? And it's hard as a chaplain in the military, because as a chaplain in the military, you really are both a pastor and a chaplain at the same time. And he was on ships. I think he was actually in the Navy or something, this guy Klingenschmidt. But he knew that things might not work out like he hoped. But you know what? He followed what he believed that God would have him to do, and he did not compromise on his faith. And even at the end of the day, I bet Klingenschmidt, even though he lost his military retirement, was in a long time, I bet you he's thankful that he followed God. I bet you after I read about him, he's still a believer today. He's still walking after Jesus today, and he's not walking some different way. So we gotta expect this and know this, that sometimes it won't be success like the way the world says success. There's no man who has power to restrain the wind with the wind, and there's none who has power over the day of death. And there is no discharge in the time of war, and wickedness will not provide escape to its masters. Now this is a tough one here, but I wrote here, the recognition of inability is a practical use of wisdom. It's like if you don't know something, it's okay to say, I don't know. I don't know. Don't try to be the expert all the time when you're not the expert all the time, all right? If you cannot recognize that you have some inability, there is not wisdom with you, okay? We all have to grow. We all have to keep learning. And if we recognize that we have inability in what we do and who we are, that's a practical use of wisdom right there. Wise men may recognize they can't control the day, then they could just any more than they could control when they were born, or they can control the day that they die, okay? The only way you control the day that you die is if you commit suicide. That's a horrible thing to do. Please don't ever do that. If anybody ever is here thinking about suicide, please talk to me, talk to another believer. Let some light shine in your life. I think one of the worst things could ever be is you go before your Creator with such a great sin of self-murder right there, okay? It's nothing that would ever be right. But that's the only way anybody could control the day that they die, all right? So we don't have control. It's like trying to grab the wind and control the wind. We can't control the wind. Man can't control the wind. They got to know that we have limitations. If you're a wise person, if you know you have limitations, all right? My wife reminds me of my limitations all the time, because the same way I say I could do it in 20 minutes, I'll pile on way too much stuff in my life, and then I can't do it all, okay? So she's always reminding me, you can't do this, you can't do that. How you do all these things? And it's good. She's good help me for me, okay? Good help me. It helps me with these things. But wise people know they have limitations, and there's no benefit to being wicked, okay? To going to do something wicked because that you get frustrated and angry, so you're just going to do the evil way, the wicked way, there's no benefit in that at all. And there's no escape from the difficulties of our inabilities. We just can't get away from having troubles and having inabilities. We all have inabilities, and we can't get away from that. We can be like, God, take all these inabilities away from me, make me perfect. I bet you God will help you, but you're still not going to be perfect. Not on this side of heaven. I really believe it's part of the divine plan that we go through these troubles in life, that we can grow, that we can learn. It's like the school of hard knocks, the school of life. God's growing us. He's shaping us right here, okay? And we have to recognize there's no escape away from these inabilities. So don't think that the answer is being wicked. Don't go to be wicked because you're frustrated and you just can't figure things out. Because the puzzle's not working, don't just throw the puzzle away, okay? That'd be being wicked right there, all right? If you got a puzzle and you got to do it, it may take you a lot longer than you thought. But keep working on it, step by step, a little here, a little there. You know, I wrote my dissertation. It was one heck of a big thing and a challenge for me. And Philip kept telling me, think of it like eating an elephant. One bite at a time. One bite at a time. I'd have to have some good refrigeration and such. Some good cooking utensils, right? To make sure it wouldn't go bad by the time I finish eating it. Maybe I'd be a little larger. I never ate elephant. Maybe I'd like it. I don't know. But that's the way it is in life. And we don't want to just give up and go the wrong way because of our frustrations and our inabilities. We got to keep pressing on. And I tell you what I found looking back on my life, and this may be good for you to help you too. Sometimes when you look back, you can think, you know what? This thing frustrated me like crazy too. But I did it. I finished it. And how did I do it? One step at a time. Not giving up, not going to the wicked way, but going forward. All this I have seen and given my heart to every work that has been done under the sun, which means he explored and searched this out like crazy. He was the wisest man who ever lived. And he said, I searched everything done under the sun. It means I've looked at it from every angle you could look at it. That's what Solomon's saying. All right, and he says, wherein a man has power over another man to his calamity, which is a bad thing, which we know that there's people who have power over us that can cause us trouble, okay? You think if you're a person that doesn't like to pay taxes and such, there will be when they say IRS 80,000 more agents, you're like, oh, it's my calamity. It's my calamity, okay? I mean, there's always going to be somebody over power over another person to their calamity, okay? And I wrote here, all this refers to what follows, not what precedes. When it says all this, we're talking about the verses from here on out, not the verses that were before. Sometimes one man has the power to do evil over another. Oppression is a natural part of a fallen world. We see it every day. We shouldn't be so surprised when we see it, okay? All the time we see oppressors in this world. People who may oppress you in your little area of life. People who oppress nations, okay? There are oppressors everywhere, and it's part of living in a fallen world, okay? One of the guys that I'm reading, and I'm learning about Ecclesiastes so much, I know some of you guys have read the book too. He wrote a book and it's called Life in a Fallen World. That's what he named the whole book of Ecclesiastes as he described it. Because it really is showing us how to live in a life that's in a fallen world, okay? We can't be fairy tale believers and believe that everything's perfect in this world. We have got a lot of brokenness and trouble in this world, okay? I love Ken Ham. If you're going to go on that trip, I highly recommend that trip. You're going to love this trip. You go to Creation Museum, I doubt you'll come back mad about anything. You're going to love it. You're going to be like, I'm so glad I went. Can't wait till I go again, okay? But Ken Ham, he said it once in one of his sermons from this foundation series that I lent to somebody and never got it back yet. The guy's not here today. I got to get it back one day from him. But the foundation series, he said that we look at the world like, what a beautiful place. Everything's so wonderful, you know. But then when you really look at it, you see suffering, death, cancer, all of these troubles everywhere. And we're like, wow, it's like a broken mirror is what it's like, okay? That is what the world's like. Why? Because of Genesis 3, because of sin, because of the curse. We live in a fallen world, and we can't make that go away on this side of heaven, all right? And it's wise to recognize the constancy of oppression, okay? When I hear crazy stuff go on, I got to be remembering it shouldn't surprise me, okay? Because that's what goes on around us in this world right here. And it's not a good thing. I'm not agreeing with it. I'm not giving them a high five. I'm not accepting it. I'm doing the best that I can, but I'm not letting it make me fall apart and just give up and stop. So then I have seen the wicked buried, those who used to go in and out from the holy place, and they are soon forgotten in the city where they did thus. This too is vanity. So this is a big problem, depending on what kind of Bible version you're reading right here. I got a stink bug right up here. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to trap him. Oh, he got away. Well, watch out, people. Watch out. I'll be able to drink my water now instead. All right, so here think about this. Don't step on it because it might get real stinky then. I don't know. But I don't know. Don't let him crawl up your leg either. Let us step on it then. All right, so here it is this word forgotten. If you have ESV or NASB, which I think are two very good Bible translations, one uses the word praised, one uses the word forgotten. So it's kind of tough, but actually it kind of means the same thing, okay? When it says that how the wicked deeds of these people are soon forgotten that have died, it means that people praise the wicked after their death, and it results from forgetting their wicked behavior. I think about people who die. You think about a funeral. We never talk about anything wicked that somebody does at a funeral. We try to remember them and stuff like that. But even if they were really bad, sometimes we forget. I think about maybe a thing like Hitler, okay? I saw a Ray Comfort thing, I think it was called 180. You can watch it too. It's for free on YouTube, 180. And he's walking around a college campus at UCLA in California, and he's asking people who Hitler is, and half of the college students don't even know. They have no idea who he is. And think about what an evil man and how wicked he was, and how it's already forgotten by so many people, okay? And even maybe praised by some people, saying maybe did some good things or some, okay? So this is what we're seeing, that people praise wicked men after their death because they quickly forget their wicked behavior. Wisdom helps us to remember their wickedness, that there's no fixing it. You know, I think a guy like Hitler, I think today that should be something in a prime conversation, because we got the same kind of guy, Putin, right now, right? Putin's doing the same type of evil stuff that Hitler was doing, okay? And this is an evil situation, and if we don't know what kind of horrors are upon us in this world, then maybe we'll follow the exact same path as we followed then, and tons of people die before anything ever happens, you know? It's just one example. I'm not trying to say that's what we got to talk about. Just use it as an example. But there's a lot of evil stuff, and we got to remember the wickedness as well. And there's no fixing that. Because the sentence against an evil work is not executed quickly, therefore the hearts of the sons of men among them are given fully to do evil. So when we have a result of delayed justice, and we do have delayed justice today, how many times does somebody get arrested or something and then get bail or something, and the court case isn't for like a year? What's to say they're not going to keep doing the bad stuff they were doing before? You know, most of us would say, yeah, they're probably going to do it again. Think about, that's why they have bail set high sometimes, because even the system knows that's going to happen. Because if they don't set some super high bail, the same fellow who's a killer or a rapist or some terrible thing may keep doing that until they're able to be put behind bars or until justice happens. So delayed justice is a terrible thing, okay? It says it's an evil work, because the sentence against an evil work is not executed quickly. The hearts of the sons of men among them are given fully to do evil. They think they can just keep doing it, okay? Think about speeding. I tend to speed sometimes. My wife always reminds me not to speed. Really? I'm not going that fast. Haven't had a ticket in over 3 years. But my wife would say there's a possibility at any moment I'm going to lose my driver's license. Our insurance is going to go way up. But you know, I have had tickets in the past. I can't deny it. I can't even count how many I've had in the past. Okay? A lot, all right? But think about this. Think about this. If I never had a punishment for a ticket, man, I'd really probably be driving fast today, okay? But where's that bug is buck? Just driving by, okay? But because of the punishment, it has got me going in the right direction, right? And that's just a small thing to look about. But think about our lives. If there's no punishment for the wickedness that we do, sometimes what we do, we will do more of that wickedness. And we'll continue to go down those paths right there. And that's not a good thing right here, okay? So he says this, and the people that do this wickedness, that actually encourages them to do more wickedness. If the punishment isn't dealt, they think there will be no punishment. The wise know these things happen, and sometimes they have to live with these things. We have to know that sometimes we got to live with these things, because sometimes there's no punishment and they walk free. Think of O.J. Simpson. I personally think O.J. was guilty, okay? I do. I think he was guilty, but think about this. It's something we got to live with. He went to the courts. He won. He was declared innocent. I think he's back in prison again now. I think he's been in prison a long time, which kind of shows that the fruit wasn't good fruit that was coming out right there, okay? And eventually he got there. But we have to know that sometimes this stuff goes on, and we got to live with that stuff. We got to live, because this is the world that we live in. We can't do anything about it sometimes, okay? Although a sinner does evil 100 times and may prolong his life, still I know that it will be well for those who fear God, who fear him openly. Now I wrote on the top here, I found this is really interesting, because I think I have fallen into this trap before too. I remember you used the word karma, that's like a Hindu word, but I always think, don't worry, it's going to come back around to them when they do something crazy. And the Bible does promise vengeance, and the promise is justice, but it doesn't promise when. It may be after the person dies that God's going to bring all that vengeance upon the person who's done you so evil and so wrong. But think about guys in the Bible. They had karma theology. Think about Job's friends. They all thought Job must have done something really bad for God to kill all 10 of his children and to take away everything he had and put a terrible disease upon him. Or the Pharisees and the disciples in John chapter 9, when they see some fellow that's all messed up, and they're like, who sinned? Did this guy sin, or was it his parents? Was it his parents? It's like, what karma brought this about to have this person be blind or crippled or whatever that guy was in John chapter 9? But we have to understand, and we should acknowledge as wise people, we don't know why. We don't know why God lets the wicked go free and punishes the just sometimes. Let the just be punished. We don't know why. The focus is on the wise being faithful despite the wickedness. So even despite all this trouble and evil going down in this fallen world, what should we do? Be faithful and follow Jesus. Don't give up. I tell you, it's the most discouraging thing in the world. It'd be like Pilgrim's Progress, and I do have the book up here. Ricky looked for it earlier, but I got kind of a mess up here. Pilgrim's Progress, there's a fellow named Mr. Pliable in the beginning. And when he hears about the path of salvation and how wonderful Jesus is, he's like, yeah, let's go. And he goes until they fall into this swamp. And they almost lose their lives. And they're drowning in this nasty swamp of muck. And he goes, you know what? If this is what following your God's about, I'm not in it. I'm not in it. I'm going back to the city of destruction, where I came from. And Christian knows, there's no hope back in the city of destruction. I know this is miserable. He's crying for help. And a guy named Help comes out and helps him out right there, okay? And a guy named Evangelist gives him some words. Says, why'd you go off the narrow road? And tells him, you know what? This slough of despond, this trouble, this swamp is something that many people in the Christian walk, when they start walking, fall into. Because there is so many troubles, and there's so much muck, and there's all this stuff that it's hard sometimes, and we do fall off the path sometimes right there. But this is what this is what it is we don't know why, but we sure shouldn't just quit and go away because things aren't working out the way we want them to work out, okay? We've got to totally trust God with both feet in, whether it means our death or not. We should be trusting and following Him, okay? It's not a touch and go. If it pleases me, if it works out my way, then I'll go that way. I'll guarantee you, every one of your lives, every one of our lives, God makes it so it doesn't always go our way, okay? Jesus promised us trials and tribulations. James says we're supposed to be happy about that. He says we should take joy when these trials and tribulations comes our way. All right? Even if the wicked live long, it's better to be one who fears God. Think about things in eternal perspective. It's better that 1,000,000 years from today, 1,000,000,000 years from today, I'm with Christ in heaven and beyond imagination glory with Him, than I'm here for an extra 10 years on the earth or 40 years on the earth, where some wicked guy may live to be 90 or 100, 120. I don't know what George Burns was like, but he was an old man, right? I don't know if he was a wicked man or a righteous man, but he sure did live a long time. But it doesn't matter how long you live on this earth if you don't fear God, if you're not forgiven, if you're not blessed by Him, it doesn't matter how long you live in this life right here, okay? Well, getting close to the end. But it will not be well for the wicked man, and he will not prolong his days like a shadow, because he does not fear God openly. So in the end, the wicked things aren't going to be any better, okay? And we talked about this the other day, is shadows. The thing about a shadow is there and it's gone. You can't really grab it, you can't really touch it. You see it on a sunny day, it's there and it's gone. And it's saying the long days of the wicked are only like a shadowy day. It's going to be there and it's going to be gone. It has no substance to it. It's fleeting, okay? It's a long shadow. Think about how brief life still is, even in the big span of the big picture of eternity. There is vanity which is done on the earth. That is, there are righteous men to whom it happens according to the works of the wicked. On the other hand, there are wicked men to whom it happens according to the works of the righteous. I say this too as vanity. What's all this mean? It means that sometimes great things happen to the most evil fellows, and horrible things happen to the most best of fellows right there. Or ladies, okay? Don't let me think, you ladies, don't, all this applies to you ladies 100% too, okay? None of it's just man here, okay? A lack of discernible justice in the way things work out in a fallen world, okay? And we got to have wisdom to realize there is a lack of discernible justice. We look around and sometimes what should happen didn't happen, okay? And we can see that. A wise man recognizes that this is a fact of life in this fallen world. It's what goes on. We don't approve of it. We sure don't want to make it more that way, but we realize that's how it is in this broken world. So I allowed gladness, for there is nothing good for a man under the sun except to eat and to drink and to be merry, and thus will join with him in his labor throughout the days of his life, which God has given him under the sun. And like I said before, eat, drink, and be merry, but follow the Lord, okay? Don't eat, drink, and be merry and just go the wrong way, okay? So go out and be joyful in light of all the frustrations and difficult truths in a fallen world. Rather than being frustrated and sour and grim, enjoy yourself. I know myself very well in the sense that I can let all kinds of troubles in my life get to me, and then I'm doing something that should be really nice, and I'm still all angry and upset and frustrated. That's not a good thing right there, okay? The Bible says, take time to enjoy the good things of God. Figure out a way in your life to be able to set aside the trouble, set aside the problems, and be able to find a peace where you'll be able to eat some food. We're able to enjoy some conversation with somebody. We're able to enjoy sleep. Sleep can really get away from us with the troubles of this life, can it? I'd say that's something that we should work on too, is be able to just set aside, pray, give it to God, say, God, I give this all to you. Peter 5:7, cast all your cares upon Him because He cares for you. And as you do that, go to sleep, rest, and know this is the fallen world and God has this. And be at peace. Be able to eat, drink, and be merry, okay? We're not supposed to be walking around frustrated all the time and all these troubles. And it shouldn't be that our joy is only on a rare occasion. It shouldn't be like, oh man, I remember a month ago I was happy one day. It shouldn't be like that. But I bet you as I say that, some of you guys can relate to times in your life, right? And maybe it'd be like, I remember 2 years ago, I was happy one day. This is terrible, isn't it? Let's be happy today. Let's feel some joy today. God has given every single one of us a gift. I preached the other week on 7:13 how who can straighten the way that God has made crooked. But I also pointed out that no matter how many crooked bends you have in your life, there's some straight ways in your life too. Be thankful for the straight ways. Take some enjoyment and take some peace. They are gifts from God, okay? And I really, not just rare occasion, but throughout the days of your life, no matter how difficult life may be. I tell you, I see people sometimes totally crippled up, horrible type of things. I saw some fellow the other day losing both of his feet getting cut off right there. And you know what? In our conversation, he still had some peace at times. He still had some joy. He was reading his Bible. You want to know, what should I read next? What should I read there? And I'm thinking, man, you're losing both your feet. I can't imagine all of a sudden going from 2 months ago being a person to think I'm always going to argue, you have diabetes or nothing. But now he's losing both feet. And I just think how rough it is, but yet he still had some peace. He still had some joy. I mean, he cried a bit too, and he suffered some troubles, but he still found some joy as well. And I thought, if that guy could do that, I surely can do that too, with whatever God's given me in this life, to be able to draw from some peace, joy, to eat, drink, and be married with as well. It's what God's given us. We only have short days. Let's enjoy it as much as we can. When I gave my heart to know wisdom and to see the endeavor which has been done on the earth, even though one never sees sleep with the eyes, day or night. So this is a tough one. But I believe it says Solomon thought about all these things so he could give recommendations to us. Okay, it says he didn't see sleep day or night. Okay, all these troubles went on. He kept thinking about the answers. And you know what? He did this so he could give these recommendations to us. And how do we know these recommendations are correct? Because it says in Timothy 3:16 that all scripture is given by God. Every single scripture is from God. So we can take this and really apply it to our lives and not doubt Solomon, okay? Man is busy day and night. You know, we can get busy, can't we? We can get busy day and night, yet the work of God doesn't require a man to be awake, okay? God's going to keep on doing what God's been doing. Whether you're there or whether you're not, the world's going to go on, and things are going to continue to go. Last verse. And I saw every work of God. I concluded that man cannot find out the work which he has been done under the sun. So no matter how hard you try to figure things out, you won't. That's what this says. No matter how smart you think you're going to be one day, you'll never know it all. You're never going to be there, okay? I mean, this is a real reality for us to grab onto. Imagine if you feel like you're always going to be perfect and know it all, what a disappointment your life's going to be. Because none of us are ever going to be there, okay? You're going to be so sad. You're going to be like, when am I ever going to do that? I used to say, I haven't thought about this much, but when I was a kid, I used to always think, when I grow up, I'm going to know what to do. I'm going to know all these kind of things that grown-ups know. It's all going to click together. And then as I grew, I thought, when's that day coming? The day never came, okay? I'm still in the same struggles I was when I was young. And there's still, I don't know everything. And there's still frustrations. And there's still all this stuff. And that's just the way life is. And the quicker we come to understand that, the better off we're going to be, okay? And we should understand in the sense that the work of God is beyond man's comprehension, okay? It's beyond what we can understand the work of God. It's like what I said about evolution. You know, man thinks he can figure out exactly how the world came to be, how we all came to be humans, and then as the years have gone on with science, if you really honestly search what scientists say, talk to them, they don't even believe in evolution anymore because it's a failed theory, it doesn't work. In fact, some of them I talked to believe maybe some aliens dropped us off and we're a work like that. And that's what they're trying to reach for. And you think, we have the beautiful written word of God that tells us everything we need to know. Why are you still trying to find something else to believe rather than the Bible? We already have the answers right here. Why not just trust God and be at peace? But that's fellas that can't think they're going to grab it all and they're going to know it all. Wisdom makes a man aware of his limitations. So if you're a wise person, you should be aware of limitations. Think about humbleness too. We talked a lot about humbleness before and how important it is for us to be humble and not to be full of pride and to realize there's still so much more for us to learn and for us to grow. Truly, if we're not humble, we're unable to learn anything more because we think we already know everything. So we won't accept anything. We got to be aware of our limitations, all right? And my last slide is my questions to you are, you don't answer these out loud, but just think about in your heart, who is in control of your life? Is it you or is it Jesus? Who's in control of your life? All right? If it's you, you got to know that you've been bumping a lot of walls and things throughout your life and you haven't been successful, okay? That things aren't working out the way that you thought they'd work out. That you keep thinking they'll be around the next corner. And then you realize, man, I am old, okay? Or man, it's the last day. And I tell you, we got to realize who's in control of our life, you or Jesus. Do you recognize you live in a fallen world? Do you realize it's a fallen world, that it's broken, that this world's broke and you're not going to fix it? You may be able to fix a little part of it, but overall, it's going to be broke, okay? It's kind of like building a sandcastle. You might be able to build a beautiful sandcastle in your area of life, but sooner or later a wave's going to come up and just wash it all away. And everything that you did right there, okay? Do you use wisdom in your life? I hope that you do. I hope you hunger for it. I hope you want more of it. I hope you're not of the sort, that, like I said, that when things go bad, what am I going to do? I'm just going to go the wicked way. I might as well just go the wicked way. It says in the Bible there's no rest for the wicked. There's no peace for the wicked. There's no good things for the wicked. That guy may live a long life. He's miserable for a lot longer than he would have been before. If he's a wicked man, he never comes to Christ. There's no karma theology. We should walk in faith and obedience, even as you see the wicked prosper and the righteous suffer. Even though if you see good things happen to the bad people, don't give up and go the other way. Walk in faith and obedience to Jesus. I ask you, use discernment in how you communicate with others, okay? Don't use, like I said, the Bible verse that said all these things work out for the good when somebody just lost somebody in a tragic type of way. That's not the right type of thing. And that's just one example. We can think about many examples of us saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. We got to use discernment. I wrote, are you led by the Spirit or are you led by your flesh? We got to be careful with that. Do you take joy in the good gifts of life God gives you every day, or do you let the fallen world drag you down to misery? We don't want to let the fallen world drag us down to misery, okay? Let some light shine, okay? Often, I prayed before. Thank God I haven't had to pray too recently. I hope I don't have to pray now that I'm saying this. But often I've prayed, I say, God, show me some light. Show me some light in times in my life when there's so much trouble, so much darkness, so much brokenness. I say, God, just show me some light. Because I know if I can see some light from God, if I can see some truth, if I can see some good things, if I can see away from the blinders that I have in life, then I can be so blessed right there. We need to be able to pray those prayers, and we need to be walking this and not just live in misery. Pursue wisdom all the days of your life, knowing you will never comprehend it all, but life will be better to those who get wisdom and trust God, walking in faith and obedience, okay? It's going to be better. The Bible promises it's better. Living for Christ is the better way. And I'll tell you what, you should be able to realize by now, if you're a believer, the joy you have, the world doesn't have that kind of joy. They have fleeting joy. They have temporary joy, momentary joy. And as we talked before, even the best things in life that seem like they're so great, you can get there and be like, it's not as great as what I thought it was right there, okay? Me and my wife got to stay in a nice hotel in Canada this last week. But there were homeless people all around so bad. There were somewhat aggressive homeless people. All the doors had to be locked in every direction. You had to use your key card just for a sliding glass door for the hotel to open from the street. And this was like in a regular part of town, okay? This wasn't in the ghetto or something. And talk about, you may be like, I'm going to go stay in this nice hotel, but some crazy guy may be banging on your window, demanding money or scaring the daylights out of you or something like that. Things are never as good as what you think they're going to be. But on the other hand, what I love from what C.S. Lewis once said, things are never as bad as what you think they're going to be either. When you go down the other side too and you think, oh my gosh, I dread this so much. And then you get there and like, well, it wasn't quite as bad as what I thought it was right there. Okay? But we got to, what should we do? Walk in obedience, walk in faith, and truly have that joy of the Lord and nourish it and let it flow in you and hold on to it. Okay? And with this, I'm going to close and I'm going to pray. All right? So maybe we'll stop our videos here. Well, I'm going to pray. Father God, thank you so much for this church, Lord. Thank you for everybody who's here. Thank you for the words of wisdom in Ecclesiastes. Help it, Lord, to stick, Lord, to stick like when the snow falls and starts to build up. Help it to stick in our minds and our hearts, Lord, and our lives, and help us to apply it. Lord, please help the folks here to be able to find joy today. No matter what's going on in their lives, Lord, help them to be able to find joy. Help them to be at peace. Help them to be able to accept all the trouble that's in this world and realize that there's a lot of things they can't do to change that trouble, Lord, but to walk in faith and obedience to you and just be with them and help them to walk this walk. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.